In contrast to the way that other people perceive me, I do not believe that I am cool at all. Simply put, the music industry is a little version of the entire world. Therefore, whenever you take a stand for something, and especially when you take a stand for the truth and righteousness, you will always face opposition. The time period in question was when Lauryn Hill was at the pinnacle of her career, having won 5 Grammys, having sold millions of CDs, and having had an impact on culture that no one could deny. On the other hand, she vanished. Wow, what if I told you? That is very incredible. I give thanks to God. I am extremely grateful to you, Father. Given that this is hip-hop music, this is completely insane. Is there a reason why Lauryn Hill chose to escape fame, or was she compelled to leave by the industry? Some people believe that Lauryn did not participate in the rituals that are accepted by the majority of musicians. Others are of the opinion that she was banned because she spoke out. In any instance in which you take a stand for the truth and for the service, the service of other people. Was Lauryn Hill able to avoid the negative aspects of the industry? It was a case of tax evasion, but was it merely a plot to ruin her? The question is, what transpired behind closed doors that caused her to completely withdraw from everything? She was more than just a vocalist, Lauryn Hill. This woman was a movement. It was with the Fugees that she began her career, and it was there that her commanding voice and obvious presence established her as a star. The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, her first album as a solo artist, was the album that solidified her status as a cultural icon. Hip-hop, R&B, and soul were all combined in a way that had never been done before on the album, which caused it to become a cultural phenomenon. The record went on to become one of the most successful albums in history, winning 5 Grammy Awards along the way. I would like to express my gratitude to God for investing me with such a significant duty. But then, Lauryn vanished without a trace. Nothing but silence, with no follow-up albums and no backing from the industry. There were rumors going around. Would she be insane? Is she prone to instability? Or did she fall prey to a system that desired for her to be no longer there? It was not by chance that Lauryn Hill managed to become a famous singer. Unquestionable brilliance, unwavering devotion, and an unbreakable sense of self were the factors that led to this result. Early on in her life, it was quite evident that she was meant for something more significant. Lauryn was born on May 26, 1975, in South Orange, New Jersey, and she was brought up in a family that had a strong artistic and musical background. While her mother was a teacher of English, her father was a computer consultant who also performed at weddings and other local events. Her mother was an English teacher. Her life was filled with music, which shaped her appreciation for a variety of musical styles, ranging from gospel to classic soul. Throughout her childhood, Lauryn was exposed to the music of singers such as Aretha Franklin, Stevie Wonder, and Marvin Gaye. These performers were known for their ability to convey a range of emotions through their music. As a result of these influences, she developed a distinctive approach to her artistic practice, which combines hip-hop, soul, and reggae to produce something that is both new and potent. Lauryn was a determined and competitive child even when she was still little. She excelled in school, participated in track and field, and studied the violin. However, what truly distinguished her was her voice, a voice that would go on to enthrall people all over the world. The acting industry was where she got her first taste of the entertainment industry. Lauryn made her first performances on television, appearing on series such as the World Turns. When she was only 13 years old, she even gave a performance at the Apollo Theater as part of an amateur night. On the other hand, her most memorable performance as a young actress was in the 1993 film Back in the Habit, in which she played the role of Rita Louise Watson, a student who was defiant but with an extraordinary amount of skill. We adore you, Lord, and we cannot contain our excitement. Not only did her acting skills stand out, but her voice aptitude was absolutely breathtaking, which made her performance stand out even more. She gave a version of Joyful that was so moving that it left the audience in wonder, and it was one of the most memorable moments of the movie. She displayed her talent in a way that left the audience shocked and impressed. In spite of this, Hollywood recognized her talent. Lauryn received a substantial number of offers for acting parts. Nevertheless, she was not interested in being merely another actor. In her own time and on her own terms, she desired to create music, her own music. And before long, she was able to break into the music industry by way of a band that would make a significant impact on her life. These are the Fugees. When Lauryn first met Wyclef Jean and Pras Michel in the early 1990s, the three of them went on to establish the group known as the Fugees. The group was unlike anything else that existed at the time, since they combined hip-hop with elements from the Caribbean and soul music. Their first album, Blunted on Reality, which was released in 1994, was virtually overlooked, yet it was essential in laying the foundation for what was to come. Everything changed when they released their second album, The Score, in 1996. Over 22 million copies of the album were sold all over the world, making it one of the best-selling hip-hop albums of all time. The album was a commercial and critical triumph. In addition to winning the Grammy for Best Rap Album, the album's most successful single, Killing Me Softly with His Song, propelled Lauryn Hill to the top of the music industry. Her voice was eerily beautiful, seamlessly combining rap with soulful melodies, which was something that had never been done on that level before. Her compositions were groundbreaking. Lauryn immediately established herself as the group's public face. Lauryn's voice, enthusiasm, and natural charm were what pulled people in, despite the fact that Wyclef and Pras were outstanding in their own right. In addition to being a vocalist, she was also a poet, a storyteller, and an artist in the purest form. She was an artist. Moreover, the industry took note of this. However, even when she was at the pinnacle of her popularity, Lauryn was not the same. Lauryn placed a higher priority on her creative independence than nearly any other aspect of her life, in contrast to many other musicians who desired recognition and validation. She had a profound sense of spirituality, and she frequently spoke about the significance of remaining true to oneself and without allowing oneself to become lost in the demands of the industry. In spite of this, she would eventually find herself at conflict with the very industry that had previously lauded her achievements. Lauryn Hill was more than just a gifted performance artist. In spite of the fact that she was a young black woman working in a field that was dominated by men, she refused to be controlled. She was able to see the manipulation of musicians by record labels, the exploitative behavior of executives toward young talent, and the industry's preference for profit over artistic expression. In addition to having successful tracks, Lauryn had a vision that extended farther. She had the goal of creating music that would stand the test of time, music that would inspire and educate rather than merely entertain. The industry, however, had other things in mind. Many people believe that Lauryn became a target because of her defiant attitude. She refused to participate in the game that the industry was playing, and as a result, the industry gradually began to turn against her. Lauryn resisted the trend of other musicians adhering to the formula that was prescribed by record labels and insisted on making music in her own unique artistic style. One of the most significant reasons of contention within the Fugees was Lauryn Hill's relationship with Wyclef Jean, which occurred during the period that she was a member of the group. Something that began as a profound creative connection quickly evolved into something that was far more challenging. Lynette Lauryn and Wyclef were more than simply bandmates. In addition to that, they were romantically involved. Early on, their chemistry served as the driving force behind their music, but as their relationship got more turbulent, the dynamic of the group also changed. I don't know whether you've seen Lauryn, but in my opinion, this was a very attractive young lady. Do you agree with me? Do you get what I'm trying to say? I'm a hot guy, so we're going to be vibing. During the time when Wyclef and Lauryn were together, Wyclef was married, which made the situation much more complicated. At the same time as their personal relationship began to deteriorate, resulting in an emotional and professional strain that had an impact on everything, from recording sessions to live performances. As Lauryn continued to develop as an artist in her own right, she began to experience feelings of confinement. When Lauryn's celebrity began to shine brighter, Wyclef, on the other side, subsequently revealed that he wrestled with envy. He said that he observed Lauryn's success. She had expanded her role beyond that of the Fugees' principal female vocalist. She was quickly becoming the most popular attraction. There were more than simply personal problems that led to their disagreement. The creative differences began to surface, with Lauryn expressing a desire to have a greater degree of influence over her songs and compositions. During this period, Wyclef was also working toward his own goals and establishing his own path for the group. It was impossible to overlook the strain that had built up, and by the time the score became a huge success, it was obvious that the ensemble was just hanging on by a thread. When Lauryn eventually became pregnant with Rohan Marley, the son of Bob Marley, that was the moment that finally broke the tension. Wyclef asserted that he had initially believed the baby to be his, and that he felt betrayed when he discovered the reality about the situation. Because of this, the divide that existed between them became even more severe, making it extremely difficult for them to continue functioning as a group. Lauryn was a young woman who was driven by ambition and refused to sacrifice her principles. Soon after, she discovered that she was at a fork in the road. Did she intend to remain in the Fugees, where she had already achieved a great deal of success? Alternately, would she be willing to take a significant risk and begin on a solo career, one in which she would have full control over her creative output? The choice that Lauryn made was the latter, and it was that choice that altered music forever. I believe that everything works out in due time. There is a time and a place for everybody. In the same way that there is a time to be alone, there is also a time to be in a group. There was, at the very least, for me. Lauryn Hill's decision to go solo was met with skepticism from many people. If she did not have the support of the Fugees, would she be able to compete successfully? If she were to be on her own, would she be able to take the pressure? There was skepticism in the industry as well as among some of her contemporaries. Yet, Lauryn was prepared to show them all that they were incorrect. Her first solo album, titled The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, was first published in the year 1998. It was immediately apparent that this was more than just an album from the minute it was released. There was a transformation in the culture. Doo-wop, That Thing, X Factor, and Everything Is. Everything are just a few examples of the songs that Lauryn created by combining hip-hop, R&B, soul, and reggae. These songs created something that was profoundly personal while still being widely relevant. The album was a huge success, as evidenced by its debut at #1 on the Billboard 200 chart, and its sales of over 10 million copies in the United States alone. You had better look out for it. A historic occasion that made her the first woman to accomplish such a feat. She won 5 Grammys in a single night by being the first woman to do so. By all accounts, Lauryn Hill reigned supreme in the realms of hip-hop and R&B. In spite of this, everything began to fall apart in the same short amount of time that she ascended to the top. In spite of the fact that she had been praised by the industry, it was now working against her. Lauryn would soon discover the terrible reality of what occurs when an artist refuses to be controlled, and she would learn this lesson very quickly. The music industry is rife with tales about the cost of fame and the things that musicians have to do in order to maintain their position at the top. There is a widespread belief that Lauryn Hill declined to pay that sum. Lauryn expressed her desire to create music on her own terms, but the music industry did not permit her to do so. She stated that popularity left her feeling like she was being trapped. To the extent that she put up a fight, she was increasingly excluded. After that, the legal action was taken. The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill was hailed as a profoundly intimate and insightful album when it was presented to the public in the year 1998. On the other hand, it was presented to the public as Lauryn's unfiltered vision, which was the result of her unfiltered feelings and experiences. However, in 1998, just as the album was reaching its pinnacle of popularity, a lawsuit was brought that would shatter the basis of Lauryn's career. Vata Nobles, Rashim Pugh, Johari Newton, and Taja Mold Newton are the 4 musicians who assert that they were key contributors to the album. However, they were never properly credited or reimbursed for their contributions. They assert that Lauryn grabbed all entire credit for songwriting and production, despite the fact that their labor was a key contributor to the making of the record. Money was not the only issue at stake in the litigation. The integrity of Lauryn as an artist was put to the test in front of the public. The same business that had previously lauded her brilliance as a genius suddenly started to question whether or not she had composed the songs herself. A stunning figure that prompted suspicion about what actually occurred behind the scenes was the amount of money that Lauryn agreed to settle for in 2001, which was said to be $5 million. The lawsuit had been going on for years. The lawsuit was seen by many as more than merely a legal issue of some kind. Lauryn Hill was the target of a determined and planned assault. Her name was not significantly cleared up by the settlement. Instead, professionals in the industry took advantage of the situation to portray her as tough, ungrateful, and problematic. Lauryn Hill is claiming that the media is to blame for the sensationalization of her. Her most recent tour was canceled. As a result, tours and events were canceled. The story that Lauryn was a diva who had turned against those who had helped her thrive was picked up by the media and spread everywhere. After initially being ready to collaborate with her, labels started to pull away from her. As time went on, executives who had previously referred to her as a musical genius began to mutter that she was untrustworthy and unstable. It was the system that had responded to her challenge, and it had fought back. There was more to Lauryn's fight than just a lawsuit. It was a battle against a sector of the economy that did not appreciate independent minds. Lauryn became a rival to the industry as a result of her failure to adapt to the norms. There was a widespread belief that the backlash would have been less severe if she had been a male artist working in the field. When everything was said and done, hip-hop was rife with musicians who stole ideas, rhythms, and lyrics from other artists without fear of being scrutinized by the audience. But Lauryn was not like the others. Despite the fact that she was a black woman, she demanded ownership over her artistic work, and the industry was not ready for that. She was very forthright about the ways in which record labels exploited artists, how they put artists in debt, and how they compelled musicians to comply to industry standards. As a consequence of this, she was punished. Despite the fact that she had achieved the highest level of achievement, she was able to see through the mirage of celebrity. Despite the fact that she was wealthy, had received numerous accolades, and was recognized for her accomplishments, she was also aware of the negative aspects of the music industry, including the contracts that enslaved artists, the executives who stole ideas, and the manipulation that kept artists stuck. As a result, she did something that nobody anticipated. After that, she left. As a result of the litigation, Lauryn became a mystery in the music industry. She was no longer considered the golden child of the industry. Her name was almost removed from the list. The labels did not support her in any way. A lack of opportunities emerged. Some of the same CEOs who had previously lauded her declined to collaborate with her. Lauryn disappeared from the public eye for a certain number of years. She chose not to participate in interviews, she took a step back from the profession, and she concentrated on raising her children. Fans were waiting for Lauryn to make a comeback, but she was not interested in following the norms that the industry had established. As a result of her abduction, the media's efforts to defame her were only strengthened. Her mental instability, her loss of touch with reality, and the fact that she would never return to the music industry were all rumors that circulated. That this was done on purpose was widely thought. At this present moment, I am not in the studio, and everyone in my world is thinking that I am completely insane. How are things going? Do you need to release another album? It is important to note that time is running out. When it comes to making music, you have a window, a specific window. Then there was Brother Anthony, a person who was both mysterious and divisive within the community. It has been widely discussed how much of a role Brother Anthony played in Lauryn's life. Others claimed that he was a manipulative influence, driving her further away from the industry and into solitude. While some people saw him as a spiritual mentor, others believed that he was someone who steered her through the chaos of celebrity. It has been alleged that Brother Anthony exerted a significant amount of influence over Lauryn's thoughts and choices. He encouraged her to reject the expectations of the entertainment industry and instead concentrate on her own personal path by introducing her to new spiritual concepts through his introductions. The people who were closest to Lauryn at the time believed that he was the one who helped her see through the illusion that the music industry presented to her, so making her more conscious of the exploitation that many musicians are subjected to. However, when Lauryn made an effort to remove herself from the public eye, some people started to question whether Brother Anthony's influence was excessively domineering. Lauryn was reportedly severing her links with old friends, bandmates, and colleagues, according to recently emerged reports. Her refusal to work under any industry contract, her opposition to record labels, and her growing isolation were all factors that contributed to her decision. There was a school of thought that proposed that Brother Anthony's teachings were the driving force behind her complete rejection of the mainstream world. This led her to feel that the industry was a corrupt system that aimed to enslave artists. There was one thing that was unmistakable, regardless of the supposition. The industry no longer saw Lauryn Hill as the same darling that she had been in the past. It was clear that she was no longer following the rules. When Lauryn withdrew from the music industry, another storm was forming, one that would ultimately lead to her collapse in the eyes of the public. This storm would affect Lauryn's reputation. For failing to pay taxes on more than $1.80 million in revenue from 2005 to 2007, Lauryn Hill was charged with tax evasion in 2012. The charges were brought against her in 2012. She was charged by the authorities with evading tax payments on purpose, despite the fact that she earned millions of dollars. In 2013, Lauryn was given a term of 3 months in prison for her crime, which exposed her to significant legal consequences. Has there been any kind of comment made? That being said, was this merely another instance of tax evasion? Another possibility is that Lauryn was singled out by the business for her refusal to comply. Lauryn herself made the suggestion that the case was motivated by political considerations. After she severed her ties with the music industry, she asserted that she had become a danger to the infrastructure of the industry. Lauryn revealed in a public statement that she had left the profession in order to protect her health and safety, and that she was being punished for opposing the repressive structures of the business. She also stated that she had distanced herself from the industry. There were many people who believed that her lawsuit was about more than just taxes. It was about rendering her speechless. She had already been placed on a blacklist by the business. Now they were going after her financial situation. There was a time when Lauryn was one of the highest paid musicians of her day, but now she is facing the possibility of jail time and financial ruin. Even more eyebrows were raised as a result of the time. There have been several instances of celebrities being implicated in tax evasion controversies. However, not all of them are subject to the same amount of severe penalty. On the other hand, prominent artists and performers have settled comparable cases without having to serve any time in prison. Some people brought up the fact that Lauryn's case appeared to be exceptionally aggressive, which further supported the notion that this pertains to more than just financial matters. The case of Lauryn Hill was not solely about taxes that were not paid. It was about destroying her faith in herself. Not only did her incarceration represent something far larger, but it also represented how the system responds to people who refuse to conform. In the past, Lauryn had already turned down record labels, refused to release music that was bound by contracts, and publicly voiced her opposition to the corruption that existed inside the industry. She'd seen the awful truth of celebrity, and she made the decision to walk away from it. The business world, however, was not yet finished with her. The failure of her public image was caused by a number of factors, including her court battles, her financial troubles, and the representation she received in the media. As the story progressed, Lauryn went from being a musical genius to being unstable, irresponsible, and difficult to deal with. Furthermore, once a black woman working in the sector is labeled as problematic by the media, it is nearly impossible to erase the harm that has been done. There were many who could not understand why Lauryn did not simply pay the taxes and stay out of jail. Others, however, brought to her attention the fact that she was already experiencing financial difficulties, which was a stunning reality for someone who had sold millions of records all over the world. Where did all of the money take off to? The question is, who exactly benefited from her success? The tragic reality was brought to light by her legal issues. The music industry makes money off of musicians while also keeping them in a vulnerable financial position. Following Lauryn's cessation of her financial contributions to them, she became an easy target. When you consider the story of Lauryn Hill, it is difficult not to be curious. Was it just a coincidence that everything happened? Was it a carefully planned and executed takedown? A disastrous lawsuit that called into doubt her credentials as an artist was the first thing that happened to her. After that, she was shunned by the industry because she refused to adapt to the standards. And finally, she was incarcerated. Her financial stability was taken away from her, and she was referred to as a fallen star. Could it be that Lauryn Hill was genuinely to blame for her own downfall? On the other hand, was she being punished for her refusal to submit to authority? In either case, the industry had accomplished what it set out to do. Even though she had been at the top of the world at one point, Lauryn Hill was now simply another cautionary story. However, the story of Lauryn was not yet finished. Furthermore, the business world had not yet seen the last of her. Her disappearance was never completely complete, even after all of the turmoil, lawsuits, and attacks from the media. It's possible that the music industry made an effort to get rid of her, but her influence was too significant to be ignored. It's not only because Lauryn was a singer. Naturally, she was a powerful force. She has not been secretive about the reasons she departed over the years. For her, it was not a matter of losing interest or falling behind in the pace of things. Because of the toxic nature of the industry, she decided to leave. Lauryn saw the manner in which it exerted control over and utilized artists, robbing them of their creative independence and even cutting them off from their individuality. And she was not eager to cooperate with the plan. Choosing that option comes with a cost. As a result of the industry's refusal to support her, her followers were left wondering what came next. On the other hand, Lauryn does not cease to be an artist. In spite of the fact that she has performed a few times and released some music here and there, she is adamant about not following the norms of the industry. It is not going to be a game for her. The narrative of Lauryn Hill does not revolve around a fall from grace. One must be able to maintain their position. Despite the fact that the system made an effort to stifle her voice, her influence is still felt everywhere. Due to her refusal to comply with the laws that govern the industry, Lauryn Hill was placed on a blacklist. As a result of her opposition to the system, she was eliminated from existence. That wraps up this video, folks. I hope you enjoyed it. Goodbye.